Good morning and welcome to the third episode of Voices from the Stage, the podcast sharing the stories, experiences, and reflections emerging from the urban reinventing culture in urban places network. My name is Elisa Filippi and I am the lead expert of the network. Today we meet Diletta Panero, who in Sandyford Business District, Ireland, coordinated a storytelling initiative designed to bring people together and strengthen community connections. Through her experience, we will explore how storytelling can help bridge social divides, foster a sense of belonging, and create opportunities for meaningful encounters in increasingly diverse urban environments. Enjoy the episode. Good afternoon and welcome to Voices from the Stage, this podcast from the Reinventing Culture in Urban Places Innovation Transfer Networks. Thank you very much for having accepted our invitation to be our guest today. And I mean, Diletta, you are an Italian girl in Dublin, in Ireland. So, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about yourself? I mean, your journey from Italy to Dublin, and also you are one of the coordinator of the storytelling action in Sandyford. Then maybe we're going to speak more about it. But how, let's say, storytelling became part of your work?
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, Elisa, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here and to be chatting with you today. Um, so yes, as you said, it's almost in September, will be almost 17 years that I'm in Ireland. So yeah, it's a long time, like absolutely. And even though now I'm located, like I'm living in the northwest part of Ireland, in County Leitrim, I spent a significant amount of time in Dublin and I'm constantly there anyway for work, visiting friends. Let's say that I arrived to Ireland with Erasmus project, as many move like because of that. I was studying languages in at the University of Turin, because I'm originally from Piemonte. And then there was the opportunity to come to Ireland because I was studying English and Spanish. And I did a few exams. There is a very good Department of Celtic Studies in Turin, and that was the opportunity to arrive to Ireland in that way. Which I loved it clearly because since then I never really went back to Italy, if not for family or occasions or holidays. That's the point in which I started traveling and living abroad, and I didn't come back, we can say. Storytelling, as you mentioned before, obviously was part of the project we did in Sandyford, has been a part of my professional life because it's part of one of the services, one of the tools I use in my own business, DP Language Services, but has been part of my life since I was a child. Because my grandmother was the unofficial storyteller of the village. So it's kind of she knew lots of stories and the local kind of heritage and mythology. Because Piemonte is there is a lot of stories of witchcraft, especially masque, we call them. Uh, so she knew. Yes, she
It's like a family tradition.
exactly. She was a gatherer of people in her own house, and she knew all the herbs, how to use the herbs, its uses in the kitchen and for medicine. So she used to tell me about this kind of like veille, we would call it. So these forms of mm, in the past when there was no internet or phones, so they would all gather at some people's houses and they would tell stories and have music, and the community was gathering. So when I came to Ireland, I kind of found the same thing in the Irish culture, in the Irish community. So my PhD is based on storytelling, and as well I met a lot of storytellers that introduced me to this. In Ireland, there is a Storytellers of Ireland Association. So people do it as a profession. So there are the ones that still bring on the stories and around Ireland and internationally. So for me, the surprise was to come from the courtyard of my grandmother to come to Ireland and be able to work in this field and use it as my work. It was incredible. Like I find myself at home again. Like
Indeed. I mean, different languages, different cultures, but it's really interesting to detect these commonalities.
absolutely.
Definitely surprising. So, well, uh, very interesting story. Um, and Diletta, you are living in Ireland since many years, and also in Dublin. So, for listeners who had never been there, how would you describe Dublin and maybe Ireland? I mean, what's the feeling?
Yes. So if we're going strictly to Dublin first, and then we start from the local to the whole island, I would say Dublin is very it's a very friendly and accessible capital. I would say it's a capital that you don't necessarily need to use the public transport to travel it and to live it and to experience it. You can walk through the streets, get lost a little bit, and there is so many different coffee shops and bookshops and little like ethnic shops. So it's a city that has a lot of modernity and a lot of tradition because it's still quite a new capital, we can say. It's very livable. I find it very accessible. It's not somewhere where you get lost or you feel intimidated. It kind of like, it's kind of like hugs you, like, you can still access it very easily. And Ireland in general, again, both in Dublin and in Ireland in general, there's this sense of community. What I was telling you before, even with the storytelling, the fact that even if you live in big spaces or in rural areas where maybe towns are not so connected, people are still looking after each other. There's still a sense of community to know the people that arrive, those who leave, who arrive. And there is like, I find that there is still a connection with nature very strong. And like people still talk to each other. There's not such a rush. There's like a very good balance of life and work and life and connection with nature and with your neighbors. So you can still take the time to know the people that are around you.
Thank you, Diletta. Well, you touched some very interesting points, such as, the sense of belonging to a community, but also the connection between nature and public spaces. Um, I mean, we know that more or less like half of Europeans, according to the European Union loneliness surveys, declare to feel lonely at least some of the time. So we know that we do have this kind of urgency in Europe in how we can face loneliness as individual feeling, but also um, social connections. So, based on your experience, what do you think are the main challenges when it comes to community life, belonging, and social connection? Also, I mean, from your experience and from your perspective as a like still a foreign in a different country.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I think this sense of isolation, everyone has experienced at a certain point of our life. Either we were in our home country or abroad, or at least anyone knows someone that has went through it or through periods because our pockets of our lives in which we had this experience that we felt in that way. And it's definitely like I think sometimes it's finding the balance between work and life balance as well. If you put it when you're in a country that is not your own and you go there, experience it, especially if you move for work and you are obviously linked to the work hours or your new company or your new job or profession. And then there is no many hours in a day, obviously, that are available for you to go out there and meet with the community and meet new people. There is a lot to do, a lot. I think a lot has been asked to us all our time. And when you consider work and when you consider maybe family commitments, then there is not so many hours in a day that can be dedicated to community and to like knowing more people or to find something that can make us feel better. Sometimes we can feel lonely also in a room full of people, just like,
Yeah.
just feeling isolated and not. So we need to find that connection. And I think Ireland was very good at this in the past. There's the sense of community. They had again this form called Cayley, in which again gatherings and fun. They moved from house to house to meet each other, to tell stories, to play music, so they could check on each other how life was going on, how life was proceeding, and helping people not to feel isolated. And then I think we're moving so fast lately. Ireland in this, because we're talking about Ireland, but I think in general, even in Europe, the pace is so fast that I think we cannot keep up with everything. So I think there is a need to go back to what was before, still with the modern times, but just a more connecting with the nature and more connecting with the community around us. So that there is a person always checking on us and asking us, how are you doing? Or noticing if we're not doing so well. Like sometimes you don't need even to talk. You might just go and have a walk together. And I think I see that in rural Ireland, this is going back to that. You can see that your neighbors are keeping an eye on you or people you're working with. And even in towns, there's a lot of effort in cities to bring people together, to make them like connect. And because things work better if people are connected and working in unity, like.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Diletta, you definitely, let's say, directly touched one of the main challenges addressed by these reinventing culture and urban places networks. And I have to say that all of our 6 cities, let's say, develop very different testing action, but all of them with this very objective of to and goal to face try different ways to face loneliness. And talking about moving fast and let's say the contrast between innovation and tradition and so on, maybe we can introduce Sandyford Business District and this experience we conducted within this recap network. So Sandyford is one of the 6 Romantic Culture in Urban Places network partner, and it is an innovation business district based in Dublin. What makes this partner very interesting is its nature and composition. So it's not a city, it's a business district, but a business district with almost 6,000 residents, which quite unusual, not so typical. And even more, let's say, unusual is the composition of this population because a great part of the residents they are not, let's say, European citizens. They come from abroad. So there was a, a number of different challenges in terms of integrations, getting to know each other, and so on. Um, and you were invited to work on the testing action. So, Diletta, what is the experience that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find Sandyford, as you mentioned as well, like, Sandyford is a district business. It's a very interesting place, and I think Sandyford has a foot on the accelerator because, like, you can feel it. You go around, you can feel that there is so many companies, so many people from international background, and it's really going towards modernity and innovation very quickly. But I think that foot on the accelerator that is so great to forward it towards, like, modernity and towards the greatness at the same time obviously has its own challenges as well, because now people don't just go there during the day to work and do business and work on projects. Now they live also there. So the sense of community, what we were talking before, was not there as much, or at least people. I think there was a lot of talk about parallel society. People, yeah, were going on parallel streets, but they were not intersecting so easily. So what the text in action and the use of storytelling was trying to bring people together. Just we worked with a group, as you know, 10 storytellers, so 10 people that decided to become storytellers for the storytelling night. And it was people that had one thing in common, two things in common. One was that either they lived or they worked in Sandyford Business District. And the other is that they're international background, so they were not originally from Ireland. So the storytelling this in action was very interesting in the sense that in a very short and limited amount of time we had to bring these 10 people that didn't know each other, that to find things in common and to work cohesively, because that's what we wanted to do, like almost like a metaphor of what the Sunday for Business District was. was that like we were trying to bring parallel society together and make them work and share stories, and realizing that actually, independently of their background, there's the previous stories, the previous background, they were all sharing the same things, like going to work, making like, family commitments, trying to belong, to be part of a community. And community was always the main theme of every story that came out of this storytelling night, the storytelling journey, was that they were all looking for a place where they could belong, where they could like, feel home, and where they felt that there was a community that either cheered for them when things were going well, or were supporting them when things were not going so great, which can happen when you're living abroad and you're away from home and your own network. Like,
Yeah. It's very interesting, this let's see, this phrase of yours. So they were looking for a place to belong to. It's interesting, no? Because in a way, it's a contrast on what we are living right now, because we are in the way of the digital connection. I mean, we are in the world of AI, but at the same time, we do have a strong need of belonging to a community, to a place, as you mentioned. So it's really really interesting. And in your view, what was the, let's say, the success ingredient in the storytelling action?
so like what came out was like the main threads of stories, everything emerged from stories, and made both the storytellers telling their story that night, and the public, the audience that was listening to the stories. It was they were all talking about topics like accommodation, so home, a feeling like a home, finding a place that you feel safe and you where you can host your like friends, weather, you know, either that you like, obviously the weather in Ireland is very changeable, like, but like so the weather was another thing, and food and friends. Those were the things that are commonality, that like are in common with everyone. Doesn't matter what kind of life you have, what kind of job, or where you live. We all have to live somewhere. We all need to eat. We all are dealing with the weather in a way or the other, the seasons, and we need friends around us to share things and to have our community. So I think what started like as a way to not to show the differences, it showed that like despite being different, we have things that are in common for everyone. So there was a lot of understanding for that, and a lot of sharing, and the fact that people that never would have had an opportunity to meet each other, they could connect in that specific moment through that storytelling night.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Diletta. And also, I'd like to share one personal anecdote, because when we were with the other partners, well, we were in Sandyford. As you may remember, we had this beautiful experience to have a workshop with you on storytelling, and it was one of the preparatory action that you did also with a group of storytellers, and it was really powerful and it was really emotional. So I think that one of the message is that we have to, let's say, we have sometimes to feel. I mean, situation, places. I'm talking also with the perspective of a policymakers. I mean, data are and numbers are super important, but feeling, when we talk about loneliness, social connection, but also culture and creativity, um, emotion are definitely part of the picture, let's say. So
Absolutely. It was a very emotional journey, like both to listen to their stories for the first time. I think this feel like each of them shared so much. They were very conscious that they were gonna be in front of an audience. Obviously they had some people that they knew for supporting them, but then there was an audience they didn't know. So they were sharing things, personal parts of their journeys. So I think that sharing brought people together. It's kind of like it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say that, our life abroad was not all the time perfect and all the time picture perfect. Like, there were moments in which, we were not on such a high. And I think everyone could feel that because everyone felt at a certain point those sort of emotions. So they recognized each other in what was said. Like, so absolutely feeling exposing themselves and being vulnerable was very brave, but it also was very powerful for people to appreciate the stories.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Letta. Okay, so I think then now we can just move on the two last questions, which are, let's say, like the usual questions that we pose to all our guests. The first one is about the place. So, if you could take our listeners on a walk through Dublin right now to feel this recap spirit, where would you take us?
So I think I will take you to three places, mainly because it kind of symbolizes a bit the journey that we did in Sandyford as well. So I will bring you to the Grand Canal and the Royal Canal. So there are greenways along the canals because it's the contact with nature that you have, like in Dublin. I think there is nothing better than having a walk around the canal, listening to the water, seeing the trees, admiring the lovely houses, and meeting different people in Ireland. I don't know if you noticed when you were here, everyone say hello, how are ya when you're
Yeah.
passing in the street, even if they don't know each other. So there is that again connection. Like, so I really think that that's a is a really good place where to go and feel some of the other Sunday for the storytelling project. And then I will bring you to the Northumberland Road in Dublin because that's part of the Embassy Belts. So that's our immigration, that's our international part in Sandyford. And you see that there's all these embassies and these lovely trees, especially in springs that are in flower, and Victorian architecture all around you. So you're in Ireland, but you're not sure exactly if you're in Ireland or not. And then we finish at the Dublin Docklands. And then we are in front of the CHQ building, which also the APIC, the Irish Immigration Museum. And it's lovely because, again, there is the tradition, there is an important part of history for Ireland, but inside that building, there is also labs, enterprise labs, incubators. So then again, that's our modernity, our foot on the accelerator like we had in Sandyford. And the fact that in the Epic Museum, we have a lot of international tourists and people from everywhere that comes and gather and learn about Ireland. And in the same time, Ireland is ready also to go towards Europe, towards innovation, towards modernity. So when you go there, it's a very serene. You can even sit outside the building and you face the River Liffey and you can hear the seagulls. So you have still a contact with nature, tradition, and the food on the towards the innovation and modernity. So that's where I would finish the journey.
Well, super. All the places noted for the next visit. And then, well, as you know, Recap is a European network about culture, creativity, and so on. So the question is, what does Europe mean to you in three words?
Um, Community, tradition, and modernity. It's a feel they're the thread. Oh, the intercol. And that's exactly what for me Europe is. The three together.
Super. Thank you so much. The very last question is, if you had to leave one message to another European city that wants to use storytelling as you did to bring together people and so on, what would it be?
Absolutely. I would say that they use storytelling, and storytelling is one of the most powerful tools to know more, not only about the city or the town where the project could be done, but it's about the people who live in it to make the town again stronger. So storytelling is a bit like music. It's something where people find the common elements in things that are very different, but I find like, a bit of home in a story despite its difference.
Wow, I very like this image. Thank you. Thank you, Diletta. And since you talk about music, the super very last question, since you mentioned, is there a song that you would like to suggest that thinking about Dublin or Ireland?
Yeah, I like it's true if I can cheat.
Yeah, you can.
If I can cheat, I do your love. That's really It's mainly because one is upbeat and one is downbeat. Because I think that's what it means to live in Ireland, but to live abroad and start a new life in any other new countries. Which one is like real people do, which is from Osier, which is Irish musician as well. So it's kind of like again like feelings. It's about feelings and about how real people live everyday life. And I think it's very, very pertinent to Ireland, to Irish landscape and contact with nature. And then the programming a little bit of the Irish spark and Irish development. I would go with the Water Boys, the Fisherman Blues. So that's very happy. So I would say that in a good sunny day in Ireland, if you listen to that, you feel pretty happy in the world.
Episode.